Welcome to Your Wealth Matters. I'm Janet Kim Singh, Portfolio Manager at Capstone Asset Management, and today I'm joined by my fellow Portfolio Manager, Maria Dawes. Hi, Maria. This year is almost over, not quite, but almost, and as such, I think it's a good time to discuss some financial planning, best practices, and habits. This might be a lot of information and fast, but Maria, maybe you can start with savings. What is the difference between savings and investing, and why is it important to have both?
Thank you, Janet. When it comes to extra money, saving is different than investing, but they're both very important. You want to have a decent amount of money saved so that you can access these outside of your investments for unexpected emergencies or for specific goals like large purchases. If it's possible for you to increase your monthly cash flow to your savings account, then this creates a great buffer between your future retirement savings and your current living expenses. What I mean is that having suitable short-term savings will ensure that you will not be placed in the unfortunate position of having to access your long-term investments or retirement accounts in the case of an emergency. Another thing I want to mention is that the money you save for emergencies or short-term needs should be reasonably accessible to you. This means that it's subject to very little investment risk, and in many cases, maybe no risk at all, and that it's not locked up so that you can withdraw the funds quickly if you need them. Your savings needs to be more secure and more liquid than a typical investment would otherwise be. And that is probably the biggest difference between general savings and investing accounts.
Thanks for sharing that, Maria. I know it's not as easy to save now with the cost of living so high. Do you have any tips for our viewers on how to build up their savings?
Yeah, so I have two related thoughts on this. The first is the principle of pay yourself first. This means that you set up auto withdrawals from whatever account receives your paycheck and the funds are deposited into a separate savings account. I think this is really straightforward, right? It's for savings, and even a tiny bit makes a difference over a long time. The second thought is that if you have a lump sum or if you receive like a raise from work or some sort of bonus, that you consider saving or investing some or all of it. What you choose to do with your raise depends on the financial goals you had before you knew about it. For example, if you've already budgeted around your original income without needing the bonus or raise for living expenses, then try to save as much or all of the extra funds as possible. The only exception I would make on this is if you need it to pay off debt. But if debt is reasonably under control, then you need first your shorter term savings buffer, and only then, once that's met, consider saving for the long term. And as a side note, you can also consider a double win here. If you were to save first and contribute funds to your RRSP, you could then use the tax refund to add to your shorter savings account. So it's a win-win.
That's a really good consideration, Maria. Okay, so you've already touched on the RRSP, but there are other tax sheltering considerations that you can use to your advantage as well. I'll start with the TFSAs. While contributions to a TFSA are not tax deductible, any investment income earned within the TFSA is tax-free. Withdrawals can be made at any time without any tax consequence, which can be really powerful and convenient. The current 2024 TFSA lifetime limit is 95,000, and next year that goes up to 7,000. Whatever growth you make in your TFSA is truly tax-free. If you are not using your TFSA room and still have your savings account earning interest at the bank, you need to get that money into your TFSA because even a little interest growth sheltered in a TFSA will save you unnecessary tax at the end of the year. Like a TFSA, RRSP growth is also tax-free, but your contributions are tax deductible, as Maria said earlier. And as a side note, did you know that there are plans that allow you to borrow from your own RRSP to fund your education or a first home purchase? But outside of those exceptions, the money is taxable upon withdrawal, which is expected to be during retirement. However, your tax rate in retirement is probably going to be lower than when you are working full time. So while the government eventually gets their cut, you are still paying less tax at the end of the day. Lastly, a fairly recent initiative in Canada is the First Home Savings Account, whereby an account holder can make tax-deductible contributions of up to $40,000 over the course of 15 years for the purpose of buying a home. Unused contribution room accumulates once the account is opened, and can be carried over to the next year. While you can put in up to 40,000, as I mentioned, annual contributions are limited to 8,000 per year. Each year, you can make up one prior year if you've had the account opened but missed contributing. Similar to the TFSA and RRSP, any investment earnings are tax sheltered. As the name implies, the use of this account is more restricted in that it's intended for first-time home buyers. But if that's you, then for sure, this is the account to be focusing on if a home purchase is in your future. And please talk to us about it.
Yeah, I want to acknowledge that there are so many nuances regarding registered plans like RSPs, TFSAs, FHSAs, and it can be confusing to know what is best for you and where to put your money year by year. So if you're unsure, please contact us to discuss the option that might be best for you.
Maria, so far we've covered savings and investing in various registered plans, but another really important financial principle that requires some intentionality each year is the practice of giving. Charitable giving is actually a financial habit that needs some forethought and is in fact a core tenet of Capstone philosophy. Can you share more about giving with our viewers?
Yes, I'd love to share some thoughts on that topic. First, I want to recognize that we've been blessed with so much, right? Like living with the spirit of thankfulness for what we have and being mindful of how our generosity can impact our community and the world at large should be huge motivators to inspire us to give often and maybe even sacrificially. But that said, living and giving generously can be really tough if you do not have an initial plan and if you're not disciplined in your money management. I recommend that you use the same savings principles that I provided at the start of the session of pay yourself first. But in this case, have your giving automatically deducted from your account on a regular basis and send it directly to your charity of choice. This can be an effective way to meet your giving goals. And even more than this, it can fulfill the principle of giving the first fruits out of a spirit of thankfulness. While it will definitely help in your tax planning, as a side note, there is a mysterious but true reality that the stress and power of money that we all live with is easily broken through the practice of giving. And if you don't believe me, I dare you to try it. Give and live generously, and I promise you'll be enriched in ways that has nothing to do with how much money you want or have.
That's well said, Maria. We are nearing the end of this episode, but it would be remiss of me if we didn't touch on a less exciting but very important viewpoints. The first is having a valid will and at the same time ensuring you have set up an appropriate power of attorney. If you have that in place, then the second principle is to annually review your will and power of attorneys to ensure they are up to date. An outdated will can lead to confusion, disputes amongst your family, and even legal challenges. Regular updates ensure that your intentions are unmistakable and reduce the likelihood of your will being contested in court. If your will and estate intentions are not up to date, I'm encouraging you to make that a goal to get done before the end of the year.
And I'll add to that goal, Janet. The last part of the financial picture that people need to consider and review regularly is their insurance plans. We don't sell insurance here at Capstone, but we acknowledge that insurance can be crucial to protect your family and your business in the event of unexpected illness or passing. There are many different types of insurance, and so I am encouraging you to have this discussion with a financial professional to assess your situation and to determine the correct type of insurance that you need for your situation.
You're so right, Maria. It's such an important piece to the overall financial picture, and it provides safeguards and protection for your loved ones. And just a side note, if you are young and healthy, this means you are probably easily insurable, and the cost will likely be very low for you. You don't know what your future holds, and so I'm strongly encouraging you to put insurance in place now while you're young so that if anything happens to your health or circumstances, at least you have something in place to fall back on. It is much more difficult and expensive to get insurance when you're older or if your health is compromised.
Thanks, Janet. It's true. And I realize that we've shared a lot of information with you today. We've touched on saving, investing, giving, estate planning, and insurance, basically all the pieces of a healthy financial picture. I hope that this conversation has given you something to think about and that it spurs you on to adopt some good financial changes and habits for next year. For now, I thank you for watching this installment of Your Wealth Matters, and we'll see you next time.
Bye for now.